equations, solving them. Okay, some of them are easy, like number 22. You can just cross multiply. A minus 8 times a plus 5 is equal to 3a. Boom. Multiply it out, okay, which means you've got to FOIL. Right? And if you want to know, you've got a plus 5 times a minus 8. So a minus 8 times a plus 5. A times a is a squared. A times 5 is plus 5a. Negative 8 times a is minus 8a. Negative 8 times 5 is minus 40. These collapse down into minus 3a. Then you need to set the whole thing equal to 0, so you subtract 3a from both sides. Oops, come on, minus 3a, which is where you get your minus 6a. Then you need to factor factors of negative 40 that add to negative 6, and you wind up with negative 10 and 4. Setting each equal to 0, you get a is 10 or a is negative 4, both of which work. Number 23, in order to cross multiply, you need to have a single term on the left and a single term on the right, which means that in this particular case, you can't. Okay, I can't just cross multiply. So what to do? I need to get rid of the denominator. So I notice that I've got 2n, n squared, and 2n squared. So the common denominator, the least common denominator, is 2n squared. So that is what I am going to multiply the entire thing by. When I do that, it will get rid of the denominator. So 2n squared times 3 over 2n leaves me with just 3n. And just so that you can see this a little bit better on this one, you'll get 2n squared times 3 over 2n plus 2n squared over n squared is equal to 2n squared times n minus 2 all over 2n squared. So what happens? The 2n goes like this. That's where we get the 3n. The n squared goes away, leaving me with the 2. The 2n squareds go away, leaving me with the n minus 2. Now I subtract n from both sides, then I add 2 to, and in this case I'm actually solving for n, so I subtract the n, I subtract the 2, and then I divide both sides by 2, and I get negative 2. Okay, so the least common multiply through. If you can't cross multiply, if you don't have a fraction equals a fraction, then you need to multiply the whole equation, every term, by a least common denominator. Okay, next up, we have p minus 6 times p minus 1. Here's a p minus 1, and here's a 3. So my least common denominator is this guy, and I'm going to multiply every single term by it. So remember that it's going to cancel things out. So this is going to wind up just multiplying all of this guy by 3. Boom. Here, the p minus 1's go away, so I've got 2 times the p minus 6, so it'd be 2p minus 12 times 3 is where you get the 6p minus 36. Over here, the 3's cancel, and you get 2 times the p minus 6, p minus 1, FOILed out. Why did I have to FOIL it out? Because now I have to combine my like terms. Okay? And then I'm going to move everything over to the left, which is going to leave me with just a basic trinomial. Here I subtracted 2p squared, I added 14p, and I subtracted 12, and I did the same thing over here. Minus 2p squared plus 14p minus 12. That's how I got p squared plus 23p minus 24 equals 0. I factor, and I set each factor equal to 0, and I get my answers. Okay, again, cross multiply or multiply through by the least common denominator. Here I've got 3, 4v plus 3. This one factors to 3 times 4v plus 3. So my least common denominator is this guy. I'm going to multiply it by this one, which means the 3's cancel. So that'll give me 4v plus 3. So there's my 4v plus 3. Now I'm going to subtract. And this time the 4v plus 3 is going to cancel, so I'm just going to subtract 3. Yay. On this side, notice that this whole thing will cancel with this whole thing, which will leave me with the v squared minus 3v minus 18. Boom. Now I need to get everything on one side of the equation because I don't have just a v. I'm going to have a quadratic, potentially. So I'm going to subtract 4v from both sides. And here, plus 3 minus 3 is 0, so I don't have to deal with that. Now I need factors of negative 18 that will add up to negative 7, which are negative 9 and 2. I factor that trinomial. I set each factor equal to 0. V is 9 or V is negative 2. Voila! I have my answers. Now, the one thing I do have to check, which none of these, let's see here. One thing I have to go back and check, whoops, sorry, is will any of my answers cause a problem? Is it an excluded value? So I first look here. I have 9 and negative 2. So 9, nope, not a problem. Negative 2, not a problem. Neither 9 nor negative 2 will make a denominator 0. For number 24, I go back and I say negative 24. Nope, that'll work. 1. Ooh, if I put a 1 in here, this doesn't work. So 1 is not a solution. Only negative 24. 1 is a restricted value. Now, let me go back to this one. Just, now I'm going to do an erasure so that, I think that other one on the other page was the only one that was my problem. Here, I got negative 4 and 10. Negative 4 is fine, and 10 is fine. Great. Then over here, I'm just going to erase this so I can have less noise going on. I got negative 2. If I plug negative 2 in for n, it works, so it's not a problem. So the only one that I had to eliminate, whoops, was the answer 1, because 1 minus 1 is equal to 0, and I cannot have 0 in a denominator. Okay? Ready to test? Of course you are. Good luck.